what very special tidings today brings for me and for you, my friend. I hold in my hand the very first production pieces of the Verkill. This is a figure with a lot of history that we're going to talk about. This is a much anticipated style of action figure for the Night of the Slice world. And, as the secret is probably out at this point, this is September 2021's Action Figure of the Month Club exclusive. If you're not a member of Action Figure of the Month Club, you can sign up at patreon.com/Jesse DeStasio. However, it is frequently sold out, so you may have to be patient and wait for a slot to pop open. You can also just drop me an email and I can let you know if there's a waiting list or when the next open enrollment period may be. But there's a lot to dig into with this fantastic figure, so let's go. First up, you're seeing some very early concept art here. And the goal in my mind for this figure was to do something that's a bit more simple. A figure without a ton of cut joints, but that could be made in a very quick fashion in very high quantities and could be an underbody for lots of different things. I was sort of imagining a really reed-thin type of character. I am very interested in getting different body types into Knights of the Slice as we progress throughout the years. So I wanted somebody that was almost skeletal, but with a lethality, right? They look really terrifying and dangerous. And around that time, I was kind of starting to develop who is going to take Marson's place as the main antagonistic force against Rex Gannon and the world of Knights of the Slice. And I started to think of, you know, Marson is this sort of interrogator for the Trilobite King. What would be a counterpoint to that? And that would be a sort of spy master, right? Somebody who doesn't get their hands dirty, but plays with different elements on a chessboard in order to get the outcomes they want. A lot of cloak and dagger type of vibes. Not content to just sort of work machinations behind the scenes, Count Verkill is also an assassin in his own right, and has a lot of sort of stealth abilities and quick movements. He is also a polymorph. We've met one polymorph before in Knights of the Slice, that being Bumblejet, so he can change his shape and his size and his appearance. So what the true Count Verkill looks like is still unknown to us. We can also assume he has an army of underlings, of secret assassins, and that's what I use the sort of more elongated head for. I imagine those are his foot soldiers, his assassins that he sends out and dispatches, and then the more human head is sort of his visage. This first edition being cast in super popular, all black, the best color to sort of blend in with the shadows and go unnoticed. He's also got to have a poncho. Ponchos are, you know, really excellent, so of course he's going to have a poncho. That helps hide his skeletal frame. Maybe it makes him appear more intimidating when he wants to. Also makes for a cozy sleeping bag in a pinch. So after I sort of developed the idea for this figure, knowing that I wanted to do an assassin type character, knowing that I wanted it to be reed thin, knowing that I wanted a sort of more minimal articulation scheme in order to pump these out more frequently. There was only one sculptor in the world that could have pulled this off. I went to our good friend Erwin Papa, and he sculpted this by hand. Our process was sort of sanding down a base body using other Knights of the Slice parts, and then building back up using sculpting compound all the intricate details. This is easily the most detailed figure that we've done. There's different textures, different plate armor, different lines, and Erwin really did a fantastic job. And then of course, Matt Dowdy put his finishing touches on everything, tied it together nice and tight. And that gives us what I think is probably our most avant-garde, our most artistic figure to date. Hopefully, a fan favorite. You're now checking out his actual secret first appearance in the Night Bugman comic by Gavin Mackey. A few folks picked up on that and speculated that might actually be Count Verkill, and they ended up being completely correct. You're also taking a look at this fantastic time lapse by Goblin Prin. You can follow him on Instagram. He really breathes a whole new life into the characters I create, and I don't think of a sculpt or an action figure to be complete until he's put his fingerprint on it. Now you've got yourself a couple different options for how to display this figure. You can have his sort of biomech helmet on, you can have him with his human head, you can add a poncho, you can subtract a poncho, You can also go and watch our other video about modifying the poncho, and with a X-Acto knife or some scissors, you can kind of customize that even further and give a whole new series of looks to these figures. In closing, I love this figure. I'm super proud of it. Thank you to everybody who collaborated on this. This figure was brought to life using Patreon funds. So there was no fundraiser for this. Nobody knew it was coming. It was actually a complete surprise. And I want to thank the patrons who made that possible, because couldn't do it without them, literally. Now, one more thing I want to cover here. The Verkill is going to arrive in pieces, and as many people know, Glyos is all about customizing and building, and all the parts are interchangeable. Now, in the summer months, what I tend to find is that after a lot of play, some of these joints can be a little worn. Some of the parts can be a little wobbly. So I'm going to show you guys how to reset your Glyos pieces so that they are like new. PVC plastic, polyvinyl chloride. What's great about PVC is that obviously it has numerous applications, not just in toys, and it's a very sturdy type of plastic that also holds a lot of detail, but it does also have a memory. So as things get worn out, you can reset this memory using this simple process. What you want to do is create a hot box. You can make your hot box out of anything you like. I find cardboard to be the best solution. Put a little vent at the top, pull your figure apart, drop it in there, and then utilize some kind of heating device to heat these parts up. Maybe a hair dryer. Personally, I use this little heater, and I just simply place the box towards the front of this with the vent open. Turn this baby on high, leave it for about a minute. You want to make sure you don't cook these things too much. And of course, if you are a simpleton or underage, you want to have a parent giving their supervision to this process. Make sure all the parts are disconnected. And what that will do is it will trigger the memory in the PVC. And it will go back to the setting it was in when it first came out of the machine over in China. What you want to do directly after you've heated this and you're satisfied with the temperature you've achieved, you want to put it directly into the freezer. That's what I do anyway. You could dunk it in cold water if you like. You want to sort of lock that setting in place, and to do that, you need to subject it to a very cold temperature. We have some great footage of manufacturing in China on our YouTube page, our Japan and China videos, and when things come out of the machine, when the injected plastic gets outputted from the mold, it goes directly into a cold bath, and that's how they sort of set the PVC. So we can mimic this using just household items, and then your joints will be feeling nice and tight, and you'll get rid of most of the wobble. This is a little more apparent of an issue when it's figures that are utilizing two different sets of molds. For example, M. Minerva, right? She is a Sima figure, and she is also a Star Marshal figure. What can happen is, because these are not specifically calibrated to each other's pieces necessarily, getting the fit is an art form, it's less of a science. There can be some wear and tear. There can be some pegs that are slightly bigger for some holes. And this process will really help you maintain a tight fit and get back to that like new factory setting. So if you got some older Glyos figures you've had for years and you've done tons of builds with, and they're just not holding on to the parts in the same fashion, just go through this simple process. Be careful, don't burn yourself, don't get frostbitten. I think you'll find it brings everything back to a nice, normal neutrality. Thanks for watching. Check out patreon.com/DeStasio. Lots of fun behind the scenes stuff. And at the right tier, you get a free action figure every month. How cool is that? Okay, thank you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.